Good evening and welcome to a different Crimewatch. Different tonight because with your help, the crimes have been solved, criminals convicted.
These are some of the people who didn't get away with it, with murder, sex attacks, armed robbery and kidnapping.
I carried on talking to him, but then he grabbed my arm and tried dragging me in towards bushes.
Alpha, can I have an immediate with that, please? The gent has just dragged this girl into bushes.
What we did notice at the post-mortem, there seemed to be some sort of wound around the neck just there.
You stupid old man!
You're pathetic.
You just don't care, do you?
Do you not think about anyone other than yourself? Can't believe you're my granddad.
Alan Johnson is a shark in a goldfish pond.
How do you remember your PIN number?
Well, I put them in the back of my black address book, disguised as a phone number.
Ambulance service. Ambulance, please, very quickly. We have an attacker in the house at the moment. My daughter's hand has been cut with a knife, by the look of it, around the thumb. Right, OK. Large cut, bleeding very badly. Right, so it's a cut to the hand. I'm not sure. My husband's just gone to see what's happening.
In 20 years of Crimewatch, viewers have helped solve hundreds of crimes, 58 murders among them. But few were more callous than this one.
Police were called by two men who found a bag by the side of the road in Sheffield. Nothing could have prepared them for what they found inside.
When I arrived at the scene, I discovered a rather badly decomposed body. It was clear that the body hadn't been killed at that location. It was deposited there. And the key to it was to actually collect the forensic evidence so we could build up a picture of who this person was.
You know what he's planning to do?
No.
He's planning to sell everything, go abroad and get married.
What about us?
Exactly. We go to protect ourselves.
At the mortuary, we got a very, very clear picture that there was foliage, that there was soil, that there was pupae, that there were maggots all around the body.
The soil and leaves were typical of those in an urban garden. So at some stage, that's where the body had been. And flies prefer to live in damp, dark conditions, so the scientists took the view it must have been buried in a cellar. They didn't yet know, but it was buried here, in the home of Hassan Nasser and his son, Kassan. For years, they'd been bullying Hassan's 75-year-old father, Muhammad Ali, until they decided to murder him for his money.
Can't believe you're my granddad. What are we going to do with the body?
Stop panicking, you're making me bloody nervous.
I'm not panicking, I just want it to go right.
It was badly decomposed. We couldn't establish at that time a cause of death. But what we did notice at the post-mortem, there seemed to be some sort of wound around the neck just there.
Because the flesh was so badly decomposed, the police began looking for clues in the bones.
The process of actually getting the body into a skeleton involved taking off all the decomposition. That took about 6 to 8 weeks.
Sheffield police turned to Sheffield University and Dr. Martin Evison, a world-renowned expert in human identification.
There was actually a wealth of information about this person's life history on the skeleton. We could tell when we carried out a dental examination that the person was probably brought up outside the West. The teeth were exceptionally worn, and our diet's so refined in the West now that that degree of tooth wear isn't seen. We could tell that he was right-handed. We could tell that he was about 5'4" to 5'6" tall, which is below average height. He was a man of slim build. He had arthritis in the neck and lower back, and he had osteoarthritis in the middle fingers of each hand.
But the best clue came from this, the fact that the victim's feet had been playing up.
He'd had operations for bunions on both big toes, where screws had been inserted as a treatment for bunions. Bob Very came back to us and said, could we carry out a forensic facial reconstruction to try and recreate the person's face, or at least a face that closely resembled the real one.
We've all seen reconstructions of people who've been found after millions of years. And there was poetic license for people when they do that. This was the real thing. This was the thing that was going to help to identify this person. And the techniques involved didn't give the people doing that very detailed work any flexibility to actually get it wrong.
We obtain a plaster cast of the skull to work on, and we then reconstruct the face in clay.
We went to Crimewatch, and obviously there was a lot of local publicity and local interest in the case.
A few weeks ago, two lads came across a bundle dumped by a road in Darnall in Sheffield. Curious, they undid it, and they found a human body.
We had a call into the incident room as a result of that publicity, and the person said that they thought the clay head resembled a man called Mohammed Nasser Ali, and he was able to give us details of his GP. The GP confirmed that Mr. Ali had osteoarthritis in his back. He also confirmed that he'd had an operation on both feet for bunions.
But even more significant, he said Muhammad Ali was being abused by his son and grandson and was planning to move back to the Yemen. So when he disappeared, no one thought anything of it. But what was strange was the way Hassan and Kassan started throwing money around. Hassan seemed to be waiting for the police to turn up at his door, and incredibly, he had his alibi in his pocket.
Charlie, we've come to find out where your father is.
He moved to Saudi Arabia. He left a couple of years ago. I haven't seen him for 2 years. He went over to get married. He sent this letter, this one here, and that's the last time we've heard from him.
Hassan produced a letter saying that his father was still alive, was in Saudi Arabia. The letter was actually written in Arabic, but the date was in English, and it was dated the 25th of November 1999. It appeared that the date was actually in a different coloured ink. The officers asked Hassan to accompany them to the police station so they could speak to him further and get some more information from him and some more background regarding his family.
But his son, Kassan, panicked and asked whether he too could go in for questioning.
He almost immediately told us that his grandfather had died in his sleep and that his father had actually hidden the body.
But the story didn't match with the forensics. Even after 3 years, they were able to find this trail of blood spots in the house. And sure enough, Hassan and Kassan had buried Muhammad Ali in the cellar. They were charged with murder.
Kassan then significantly changed his story and told the officers that his father and grandfather had an argument that night and that his father took a knife and cut his throat.
You're 72 years old, want to get married, do you understand?
At that stage, they decided to actually leave the body in the room overnight with a view to hiding the body in a makeshift tomb in the cellar of the house at Doncaster. He went on to say,
"The next day we tried to clear up the blood on the carpet. And my dad washed the knife and the clothes in the bathroom. I went to a DIY shop and bought some bricks, sand, cement, paving slabs and paint. We built a kind of a box, a tomb in the cellar to put the body in. I covered it with slabs and sand and painted it green.
In 3 years, they'd spent all of Mr. Ali's savings. The only way to get more money was to sell his house.
They'd actually got a purchaser, and then there was the need to remove the body from the cellar. Because of its state of decomposition, they put diesel on the body to take away the smell. Their initial intention was to leave it by the motorway. Because of the volume of traffic, they weren't able to do so. Kassam was familiar with Kettlebridge Road, and in actual fact, they'd almost got back to the centre of Sheffield. That's the next but last turn-off prior to coming into the city centre. It is secluded and quiet, and that's the reason they chose that site.
This road in Doncaster is only 1.5 miles from where Mr. Ali was murdered. This woman is about to become the victim of one of the most shocking kidnaps ever caught on CCTV.
Well, I'd done it before. I walked from Hyde Park to Carcroft, and I just assumed because I'd done it before I could do it again. I noticed this bloke on the other side of the road, and he crossed over to the same side of the road as me. And I noticed his shadow outside of me, so I moved to the side so he could walk straight past, turn around and start making a brief conversation. I carried on talking to him, but then he grabbed my arm and tried dragging me in towards bushes.
Alpha, can I have an immediate with that, please? The gent has just dragged this girl into bushes. Just past Sprotborough onto the car park. Carried her onto the car park towards the rear of the petrol station, jet station over.
I was certainly shocked by what I'd seen. The sheer audacity of a man, particularly of his size, much larger than the young girl, to quite publicly in an open place pick her up in the way that he did and just carry her off was quite shocking to me. The victim had actually been at a friend's house. The reason why she'd left was friends were having an argument which she didn't want to be part of. So she decided, unwise though it was, to actually walk home in the early hours of that particular morning.
Look, you two, just pack it in, will
Why
you?
does that matter? Maybe they're lying.
Right, why would my friends lie to me? I'm going, I'm off.
Oh, come on.
Crucially, on her way through Doncaster town centre, she was spotted by an off-duty police officer.
He made contact with his colleagues back at the police station to ask that they monitor her. She can be seen walking over the roundabout and then onto York Road, where she's approached by the offender. And after a few steps, he picks her up and carries her through a gap in the hedge and takes her out of sight of the CCTV cameras.
And that's when I started panicking. I started kicking and screaming. I'm not sure whether he noticed police or I was just struggling too much. He just lowered his arms and put me down. I ran towards Jet Garage, phoned police, but they were already on the way. And they came round. I pointed him out and they chased after him, but he just disappeared somewhere.
We've got roof with the man's run off. Tops are on foot pursuing.
Roger that.
One of the important things for me in this inquiry was to establish as much forensic evidence as possible. The first thing we asked them to do was to look at the areas of clothing that the offender had been in most contact with, and that included areas surrounding the back of the knees and the back part of the jeans on the waistband where he'd actually picked her up.
While one group of detectives was looking at the forensics, others were checking the CCTV footage.
We realised that it had actually been caught on camera all over the town centre. And when we looked at the range, it had actually been in the town centre for around 3 hours.
We built up a picture of a man that was literally wandering around without any great deal of purpose, wasn't visiting any licensed premises, wasn't going out for food.
But his intentions soon became clear. as he'd spent most of his evening wandering Doncaster's red light district.
The first sighting of him was actually down here at Harrington Street, and he was seen walking up this street. At the same time, the camera, which is over there, was catching a prostitute as she walked down this area. The prostitute walked up this alleyway, and then very worryingly, the offender followed her up.
At some point, he left the red light area of Doncaster and the town centre, and the next occasion that we see him was when he appears on the roundabout near to St Mary's Bridge, and that's the point where he begins to follow our victim.
By now the police had a DNA profile from a hair found on the victim's jeans.
I was confident that if we arrested our offender, that would be the key piece of evidence that would ensure a conviction.
But they needed a name, and via Crimewatch, they got one.
He really was. Tell us about him. He is huge. Somebody put him as high as 6'5".
The name they got was Dieter Graw. He was married and employed as a railway worker.
When Dieter Graw's name came into the inquiry, it was important that we researched him, and we found out from North Yorkshire Police that on the 3rd of July, he had indeed been reported missing by his wife. Now, that was important because that coincided perfectly with media releases that we had made on that date.
So now they had a name and a man who'd mysteriously gone missing. Police went to his home in nearby Great Heck to find out more about him.
Later that day, they arrested Dieter Graw, and he was brought back to Doncaster, where he was interviewed.
Can you give me your full name, please? Dieter Graw. Now and again you do work in the Doncaster area?
Yes.
Have you ever spoke to any prostitutes in that area?
Not in Doncaster, no.
Not in Doncaster?
No.
Never?
No.
He told us that he was a hard-working family man. He denied any involvement in the offence at all, never come into contact with our victim, and that indeed he would have no reason whatsoever to be in Doncaster in the early hours of the morning. Whilst he was in police detention, we obtained a DNA sample from him.
The sample matched the DNA found on the victim's jeans. Caught on camera, caught by DNA, but he wouldn't be caught telling the truth.
Any comment to make regarding that CCTV footage?
No.
The person on that CCTV footage, I think, is a very good likeness of you, the man sat before us. Do you have any comment to make regarding that?
No.
Why did you attack that girl?
No reply.
Did you want to hurt her?
No reply.
Did you want to rape her?
No reply.
Did you want to kill her?
No reply.
Dieter Graw eventually pleaded guilty to kidnap, but his denial reached new levels. He said he picked the girl up to give her advice on drugs. Extraordinary CCTV footage, an extraordinarily lucky woman. But the women in this next case were incredibly unlucky. They were picked out almost at random by a man who was living two very separate lives.
In one, he was a regular guy in a stable relationship holding down a decent job. In the other, he was responsible for a notorious trail of sex offences.
Well, the day it happened, I was just studying in the morning, and I was just going for a walk up the hill just to clear my mind. There's a pond, and lots of people normally there with their children feeding the ducks, and there's normally lots of people around, really. As I was going up this grassy slope, this man approached me, and I was kind of trying to avoid him, but he seemed intent on coming towards me.
Have you got the time?
Yes.
I've got a knife.
What are you going to do with that?
Look, I'm just going to mug you, all right?
On you on me, I swear I don't have anything. I swear, please don't touch me. I don't have any money. I don't have anything with me. Please.
Get into the bushes.
Please.
No, I didn't really think I could get away at any stage. I think because he had this knife, and I just thought best not to annoy him, really, not to get him more cross than he was.
He tried to rape her, but she managed to fend him off. Even so, he sexually assaulted her.
Is that a mobile phone you got in your pocket?
No. It's my Bible. I just wanted to read my Bible. Maybe you should read it.
I think she was very brave. She's a very level-headed young lady, and rather than submitting to him, she's decided to retain some kind of control over the situation and to keep talking to him in an effort to basically put him off.
Count to 5 minutes. If you don't, I'll be waiting on you.
So I did wait for a little while, but I was just really upset, so didn't really want to. I suppose I was quite shocked and stunned, so I just stayed. And then when I did leave, I couldn't see him anyway. Obviously, he was long gone.
I was feeding the ducks on the pond when I was aware of him coming towards me. I think it was his behaviour that appeared to be strange. He was stuffing something in a bag, and he was also looking over his shoulder as though he was looking for somebody. I started running quite slowly, just a kind of jog, but he picked up speed quite quickly, and then he disappeared round a corner.
This particular man was very careful not to leave any trace of forensic evidence. On running from the crime scene, changed his appearance significantly. That told me that we were dealing with someone who wasn't just opportunistic, it was someone that planned to carry out an attack. We uncovered other similar offences that had happened over the previous 2 months very near to the Forth Road Bridge, and we were surprised at the number involved.
They ranged from indecent exposure to indecent assault, and now it seemed the attempted rape on Blackford Hill. If it was the same man, then his attacks were becoming more violent and more daring.
They were being committed in the morning, say around about 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and we decided that there must be some reason for this. You know, is the man on his way to his work? Is he coming back from his work? Does he live in the area? And they were centred around main bus routes, bus stops and pathways to local shops. And what was quite odd is that these crimes were being committed where other members of the public had actually seen what had taken place.
Police set up roadblocks and intensified house-to-house inquiries, but the attacks kept on happening. So they brought the case to Crimewatch.
This is an appeal to the wife, family and friends of that man. Please turn him in.
As well as the 100-odd calls that we received, we got another witness to come forward who believed that the same man had attacked her.
As I approached the bus stop, I saw a man walking on the other side of the road. I continued walking up the hill and I just wanted to get home. I looked up and saw the same man with a long coat that I'd seen moments earlier.
Got the time?
No, I don't know what.
That's a nice pair of ticks you've got.
Get off of me!
Let's
Get
go and
off
play.
me!
Let's go and have some fun.
I felt confident that it was the same man because of the accurate descriptions that were given, the clothing that was worn, some of the wording that was used, and there was an element of dare or thrills involved in the way that he committed his crime.
In fact, one Crimewatch viewer found she was staring at a face she knew.
I recognised the photo-fit picture. It was so good, it was like looking at a photograph. And I knew within myself who it was right away.
She was in no doubt. The attacker was her cleaner's fiancé, Colin Dishart.
He'd been at the house a couple of times. He sat and he had a cup of coffee and just chatted generally. I was desperate to say something to his fiancée. She had told me that he had had time in prison for a sexual offence and just said he's done it again, hasn't he? And I said to her then, I'm going to contact the police about this.
Colin Dishart told friends and relatives that he was working early in the morning when in fact he'd actually driven across the Forth Road Bridge and was committing offences in the northwest corner of Edinburgh, and within a matter of minutes was back across the Forth Road Bridge and attending his place of work without anybody knowing. Well, I think Colin portrayed himself as someone who was good fun to be with. I've no doubt that his family and friends were very surprised and amazed that he was actually convicted of these offences.
I suppose I'm just more wary about going places on my own now after this has happened. I'm just quite annoyed that some of my freedom's been taken away because I feel quite scared when I'm, even in the daytime, just on the street. I'm just really wary of other people and especially other men. And when it first happened, I didn't really go anywhere on my own and I was really scared, but now I'm going more places on my own.
Anyone with small children will identify with the Daniels family after a very late car journey home with two very sleepy kids in the back. Mum and Dad wanted to carry them in, but they got the nastiest of wake-up calls from the car behind.
When you start an investigation, obviously you look at the method of how that attack or offence has actually happened.
It seemed to me that they wanted to get up this road as quickly as they could, and we'd have been 3 minutes taking the kids in, but that was 3 minutes too long for them.
I just sped up the road and swerved over to get out of the way, and then I just thought as I stopped they'd just carry on, but they didn't, they stopped. What we'd normally do is obviously start by knocking on doors, speaking to neighbours, trying to get any witnesses at all. Unfortunately, because it was during the early hours of the morning, most people were asleep, so people didn't hear, so we had hardly any witnesses at all.
I got out the car and a small guy got out the passenger side of the other car.
Look, mate, couldn't you wait a couple of minutes? You can see we've got children. What's all the fuss about? What's the problem?
A great big guy got out of the driver's side of the car, and I saw him get out the car, and he walked down to the bumper of his car.
I couldn't believe the size of him, and the way he looked, he just looked mean. I just knew that there was going to be trouble, because I thought, why would he get out of the car?
What are you doing?
Can't you do something? Get off him!
People just heard sort of shouting and screaming, but nothing else really. So we sort of hit a brick wall.
Because obviously I was too concerned about Mark laying on the floor, and there was like blood coming from his head and everywhere. I didn't really even look at kids.
Oi,
come on, leave it out, he's hurt!
Look, he was warmed!
I've got kids in the car!
If I see you around here again, I get the shooters.
His face was just completely covered in blood, and he was just out of it, not moving. I thought he was dead.
It was 6 months before we came to Crimewatch, so we were hoping that an appeal might jog somebody's memory and be able to take this matter forward.
Who was that violent driver? Unusually big, very tall with those dreadlocks and that lumbering walk.
We had about 30 calls, came into the studio in the evening, and through that also an anonymous call, and through that actually led to the identification and the arrest of Francis.
Bourne's quite a small community, and I think that it's shocked people, it's surprised them, and it's made people think twice about how safe they are with the people amongst them.
Ambulance service. Ambulance, please, very quickly. We have an attacker in the house at the moment. It's an attempted rape, in fact.
When this incident happened in March 2003, it was the first crime of this type of nature in the Bourne area. Bourne's a small market town in Lincolnshire, and obviously the impact of this crime had a devastating effect on the community.
My daughter had been working in the dining room on a textiles project.
Ben, can you go in the other room, please? Look, I've got my exams in 2 weeks.
It's really a really normal family. We get on really well together. We were sitting watching the television for a bit. She took a break. And it was getting quite late then, and I suggested that maybe it was time to go on up to bed.
Be quiet.
What do you want?
Shh. Shut up. Lie on your back.
Okay, I'm sorry.
The thing that made me think the most was that I could see his face, and I just didn't see how he was going to let me go. The next thing I remember was trying to grab the knife out of his hands.
Dad! Dad, help me! Dad, help me!
Come back here! Come back!
Ben!
What?
You stay here, look after your sister. Come in, I've just got to call the police. Don't leave her!
Ambulance service. Ambulance, please, very quickly. We have an attacker in the house at the moment. My daughter's hand has been cut with a knife by the look of it around the thumb. Right, okay. Large cut, bleeding very badly. Right, and he's still in the house? I'm not sure. My husband's just gone to see what's happening.
I just remember thinking that I wasn't going to let him pass me back to where my family was, and really that's all that was in my mind.
Where's my friend? What are you doing in my bloody house? Don't give me that crap! What are you doing in my daughter's room? My daughter's room! Get out of my house, bastard!
You always want to protect your children from having to face these sort of things.
I can't understand why anybody would want to hurt someone else.
Once the police had moved the family out of the house, they sent in a forensic team to look for clues.
The house was a scene of devastation. There was blood in various places. Clearly as well, they were looking for fingerprint evidence and any other sort of evidence that might identify the person responsible. So there was quite a big task ahead, bearing in mind that we had an offender that was outstanding and extremely dangerous. A number of fingerprints and palm prints were found within the house, and it was obviously vitally important to identify and eliminate, if possible, those marks. Most of them were actually eliminated to members of the family. However, there was one mark we weren't able to identify.
The one remaining mark was a palm mark which was located on the daughter's bedroom door handle. The elimination process was extended to include friends of the family and even previous occupants of the house. These were all compared against the outstanding palm print, all with negative results. Had it been a finger mark, it would have been searched against the National Fingerprint Database, but because it was a palm mark, there was no national palm searching facility available.
We knew that the man concerned had run off in a certain direction, and a short space away from the house, in a stream, we found a knife which we were able to say had come from the house.
Unfortunately, there was no forensic evidence on the knife. But an EFIT compiled by the family did get some response. Some said it looked like a man with the nickname Sky, but no one knew either his real name or where he lived. So the police appealed on Crimewatch.
Burglary rates are actually falling around the country. When one does happen, most burglars are pretty anxious to get in and out as quickly and as quietly as possible, which makes this next case rather unusual.
One of the most positive things to come out of the results from the Crimewatch appeal were the number of calls that were made. Yes, a number of different people were suggested, but we took that as a positive because people were thinking about the offence and thinking about people who, for one reason or another, may have been responsible. The important thing was to carry on with the investigation and wait for a vital lead.
And the vital lead came 18 months later, when the man attacked again.
All right, mate. Nice phone.
Yeah,
Just
I
look
like
at
it,
your phone,
mate.
mate. Go on.
The attack was seen by someone who called the police.
Whilst the robbery in Spalding was being investigated, the nickname Sky came to light. What actually happened was an officer who had been involved in the initial investigation into the Bourne incident was at Spalding Police Station when he overheard a conversation regarding Sky and put the link in with the original incident in Bourne.
You got any nicknames, Simon?
Known as Sky.
Sky. Right. What's your date of birth?
Sky was Simon Benton, and as a matter of course his palm and fingerprints were taken. It was an exact match to the one found on the door handle in Bourne. The police knew they had their man.
Simon Benton was arrested on the 12th of October. At the time of his arrest, he was on remand in prison in relation to the robbery in Spalding. During the whole set of interviews, he denied involvement. In fact, he actually said that he didn't even know where the house was. Can you just give us your name, please, mate?
Simon Michael William Benson.
Thank you. Have you ever been to the house before?
No, I haven't, no.
You know, and would there be any legitimate reason why your palm print would be on the inside door handle of the girl's bedroom?
No, there isn't. It can't be my palm print. Like I say, I haven't been into any girls' bedrooms apart from my girlfriend's since I've been in Bourne. So, no, it's not mine.
How sure are you about that?
Quite sure. Quite sure.
Have you ever referred to yourself as Sky, as a first name?
Only since people have been calling me it, since I've been around, sort of Sky, it's just something that everybody gets abbreviated of their name.
Yeah. So, would it be fair to say, or reasonable to say, that you're known as Sky to some people? You're saying people call you it and stuff like that?
Some people do, I suppose, yeah.
From the follow-up to that, the court case, he actually pleaded not guilty and denied everything. What this meant was that the family had to go through the trauma of going to court and giving evidence.
State your religion, please.
Christian.
I'd kind of resigned myself to the idea that he wasn't going to get caught. So when he was caught, initially it was quite a shock. There was going to be some kind of final closure and it'd be time to move on.
The truth and nothing but the truth.
My family were really supportive, and my brother and my mum sat in the gallery to support me in that way, and it was good to know that they were there.
Someone opened the door. And
I guess the defence barrister's job's to try and make you look as though you're not quite sure about what you're talking about, and I did find some of the questions a bit intimidating, but you just have to deal with them and answer them honestly in the best way you can. It was probably the most nerve-wracking bit, having to see him, but if you just focus on the jury and on the barristers, he's just sort of in the corner of your eye.
Throughout the whole case, Simon Benton never admitted to anything. Not only that, but he, even when the case was concluded, he didn't show the slightest sign of any remorse.
What was the first thing you heard?
The jury took just 2 hours to find him guilty of 3 counts of aggravated burglary and 1 of indecent assault.
I managed to sort of face my ultimate fear, and I think facing your fear and then dealing with it, and then you can definitely move on, and it's like a new lease of life, I suppose.
Stephen Johnson had an unusual career, and he made quite a decent living. But the way he made it wasn't decent. His specialist trade was conning pensioners out of their savings.
Because you can con people. Are you proud of that?
No comment.
I'll tell you why. Because you're greedy.
No comment.
And that you prey on elderly people.
No comment.
Well, we all have parents, we all have grandparents. You look at him, and if I didn't know what I know now, quite possibly I may have been taken in by him, I don't know. And that's what makes him so dangerous. I'm totally convinced there are people today that never ever recovered from his visit.
This con man has been extremely hard to track down. He's regularly switched his location and his name for 5 decades. Stephen and Alan Johnson are just 2 of his aliases. Police hardly knew anything about his life. He used his age, his charm, and his confidence to steal from hundreds of elderly people. DC Tim Brownson was given what seemed a routine burglary.
It was basically a phone call and knock on the door and go and meet the victim and take a statement. He picked on a certain aspect of a conversation that he'd overheard between her and somebody else and exploited it ruthlessly.
I'm sure I have. Don't you remember back 2 years ago? I used to come round with my son. He's a local policeman. Did a bit of work for me in his time off.
My bus, sorry.
Oh, it's mine as well.
Where were you at that time?
No comment.
Do you remember what you were doing at that time?
No comment.
It's you, isn't it?
No comment.
A reasonable explanation at all why that would be said about you, because I believe that is you.
No comment.
I do a lot of work for Age Concern. Not that you'd come in that category, of course, darling. Yeah, I live just round the corner there.
Do you?
Yes.
Oh,
so
well,
I'll tell you what, I'll
fantastic.
come round with you now and...
Okay, well, I'll show you the things that need doing. It's so difficult getting help these days. Nobody wants to do any odd jobs, do they?
Don't you worry.
I brought him back for a cup of tea, and then I took him round the house just to show him the work that had to be done. You can actually see where this crack is.
She turned her back on you, and during that time you entered the bedroom, you rifled through a set of drawers in the bedroom, and you stole 200 quid from an envelope that was contained in the drawer. What have you got to say about that?
No comment.
Where's that money now?
No comment.
Where's that envelope?
No comment.
I'll tell you where that envelope is, I've got it.
Don't you worry about your bathroom. I'll look after it. Never you worry.
That's pretty despicable, isn't it?
No comment.
But that is you, isn't it?
No comment.
And it's a pattern. So you're now using old people's charities as a way of working yourself into their confidence. You know that they would trust you and you rely upon that, don't you?
No comment.
The research was a massive job. Intelligence came back to us very, very quickly that indicated that not only was he operating within London, but he was operating elsewhere, certainly in the southern counties and the home counties. The primary source of information is the national computer. The national computer showed 38 outstanding offences, and some of those were with outside forces. We liaised with those forces and found other offences that we could attribute to him without any shadow of a doubt. But his MO was exceptional, and it stuck out like a sore thumb. He'd meet his victims in a number of different places: churches, church halls, buses. He would then engage them in conversation and then find what I would call the hook, which would allow him into that person's world, to have their faith in human nature destroyed by him. I thought it was despicable, really.
How do you remember your PIN number?
Well, I put them in the back of my black address book, disguised as a phone number.
You're not just a pretty face, are you?
He was leaving a trail of chaos around him, and he did that for 4 years.
7th of the 9th, 2004. On this occasion, you approached the victim outside a supermarket. You carried her shopping to her home address. You then stated that your mother owned a diamond ring that was very similar to the one that the victim had got. You convinced that victim that you could have that ring cleaned. 84 years of age. You took that diamond ring, you disappeared, you never returned. Where's that diamond ring now?
No comment.
Why have I got CCTV evidence?
No comment.
18th of the 10th, 2003. On this occasion, you purported to work for Help the Aged. Have you ever been employed by Help the Aged?
No comment.
You were given a deposit of £60. You then left and you were never seen again. Was that you?
No comment.
Tell me one of forensic evidence that puts you at a venue.
No comment.
Is it the case, Alan, that you drank from a coffee cup?
No comment.
As a result of it being identified on forensic evidence?
The scientists soon enabled the police to link over 30 cases.
The research led us to this character, Alan Stephen Johnson. We know Alan Johnson was born in Orpington in Kent in 1939. That's about all we do know of him.
You actually walked out of a hospital in Bristol because you were out on licence. While you were in hospital, you befriended a victim of a patient in that hospital. You overheard that victim's home address and you visited that home address.
Hello, Erin. I thought I'd pop round and see how you were getting on.
Hello, so you've been discharged?
Yes, at last. Any chance of a cup of tea?
Yes, we could, yeah.
Hundreds of victims followed. The youngest was 56, the oldest 101. He stole £5 from her.
Alan Johnson had in the region of something like 39 different names. He's a totally elusive character. When you and I live our lives, we register with doctors, we have bus passes, credit cards, bank accounts. He has none of that. How does he live his life? Well, it's really quite simple. He fed off other people. So I decided to take the fight to Johnson. And probably one of the most effective options available to us was to be able to broadcast his image nationwide.
We know his name, we know what he looks like. What we don't know is where is he tonight?
We did have a couple of phone calls telling us that Johnson could have been in the area. We travelled down there. Again, he'd beaten us to it. It wasn't him. Or if it was, he'd moved on.
But then, amazingly, the man with more no comments than a dumbstruck politician found his voice.
I've come to hand myself in. I was on Crimewatch last night.
It was an exciting time for us. And the fact that he saw himself on Crimewatch and he decided he had enough. I mean, how fantastic is that?
What led you to hand yourself in?
No comment.
Is it anything to do with the programme that was on TV?
No comment.
Now, Johnson himself told us that he'd done one a day for 4 years. I, to this day, believe that what I'm dealing with is just the tip of the iceberg. We estimated in the region of £150,000 a year that his activities would make him. Where's all that money?
Can I dispel any illusions that you may have? I will find out where you live, and I will find out where you keep your money.
Alan Johnson is a shark in a goldfish bowl. He thoroughly understands his victims and the way that they think. And he ruthlessly and calculatingly exploited his victims. Without any shadow of a doubt, a cold, heartless and ruthless man.
Have you got any remorse for these people?
No comment.
On Christmas Eve, Christopher Mason was looking forward to spending Christmas Day with his mum and dad. But it was his bad luck to cross the path of a young man with a fatal need to show off.
Mark Wilson was a thug. He liked causing trouble for people. And last Christmas Eve was no exception.
Oh, mate.
You all right, mate?
Happy Christmas.
I just want to get past, mate.
Well, you're not going to wish me happy Christmas?
Happy Christmas, mate. Yeah, I don't know hassle. I just want to get home, mate. Is that all right?
His character and lifestyle couldn't have been more different from another man in Watford that night, Christopher Mason.
He just got to 30 years old, and he'd got a lovely girlfriend, and he was maturing and becoming a very caring person.
He was a very nice person. He was very nice to me. He was very kind, very caring, very sensitive. He'd buy me flowers and leave me little cards, and he had no enemies as far as I was aware.
As Christmas Eve turned into Christmas Day, 15,000 people poured out of Watford's pubs and clubs. Unfortunately for Christopher, out of all those people, he would have a chance encounter with the one person bent on causing trouble, Mark Wilson.
We were walking down Market Street towards the car park where my car was parked. As we were walking along, there were some other people up ahead. Once we crossed the traffic lights, we seemed to catch up with these people. Again, we weren't paying a great deal of attention. As we drew near to them, the person stood at the back turned round in front of Chris and looked at me for a moment, looked at Chris, smiled, looked like he was about to say Happy Christmas, and then punched Chris very hard in the face.
His head hit the wall, and then hit the pavement, and then his brain started to bleed.
well, we had a call from the local hospital at about 4:45 on Christmas morning, saying that he'd been assaulted and it was very serious. So we rushed round to the hospital, and then we had to wait a couple of hours while they prepared him to go to the National Hospital of Neurology in London. And we had a nightmare drive behind the ambulance to the hospital, and then it was wait for the first operation, and we were able to see him after that, all hooked up to the machines. We were looking forward to a nice Christmas, but of course all that was dashed, our hopes were dashed, and we spent Christmas at the hospital, hoping Christopher would manage to pull through. And it was day after day visiting, and it gradually dawned on us that he wasn't getting any better, he was getting worse. And in the end we had to accept that he was going to die. Sarah and I stayed with him all night, and held his hand so that we didn't leave him. And he died at 6:15 on New Year's Eve. And then we had to start trying to get used to the idea.
It was completely motiveless. It was a completely unprovoked assault that led to these tragic consequences. That in itself is a driver for the inquiry team to make sure that we do everything that we possibly can to bring the person to justice.
The police sifted through every piece of CCTV footage from that night, thousands of hours of material, thousands of people, and from those they identified these 3 prime suspects running away moments after Mark Wilson had killed Christopher.
Unfortunately, the CCTV coverage didn't show us who actually threw the punch. We targeted a specific area for doing leaflet drops with an image of one of these suspects and an image of Chris. Whilst that generated some response, it still didn't give us the necessary breakthrough to identify who the 3 males were.
The police hadn't yet identified the man on the CCTV as Mark Wilson, so he carried on as if nothing had happened.
Smashed the geezer and, you know. Joking, what happened there? Stuff happens, don't it, mate? You know what I mean? Wasn't like that.
Wilson went on to leave the country, and the police went on to Crimewatch.
Now, only one of them threw the punch. If the other 2 come forward, what will happen?
If the other 2 come forward, we'll be treating those as witnesses. If they've had nothing to do with the assault, I would urge them, this is their opportunity to come forward. Within half an hour, we had a phone call through to the studio that was from an anonymous person speaking on behalf of one of the 3 males, saying that they'd witnessed the assault but were reluctant to come forward. At the end of the Crimewatch programme, Nick Ross then put out an appeal.
I'm going to be a bit obscure on this. There is a caller who knows someone who knows something. And I'm going to be deliberately elliptical. That caller will know that I'm addressing him or her. All I'm asking is, don't ring back tonight. There's no reason for you to do so, but please do stay in touch with the police.
The person did stay in touch and gave Mark Wilson's name.
It is fair to say that he'd come to police notice before, and the local police in Watford were well aware of him. And it's also fair to say that, unfortunately, this attack on Chris isn't out of character for something that Mark would have been involved in.
And when Mark Wilson got back, the police were waiting.
When we actually went to arrest at his home address...
Nobody move! Everyone lay still!
We recovered a letter that he'd penned to an acquaintance of his but hadn't sent off, where the gist of the letter was he was basically admitting that he had been the person that had thrown the punch.
So do you want to tell me what happened on Christmas Day?
No comment. If there was any reasonable reason why you assaulted Christopher Mason?
No comment.
At the moment, I feel I want to hang on to all his things and possessions, because that makes me feel closer to him. So, little things, like I wear his watch and go and sit in his room. But I know eventually those things won't be quite the same as they are now.
And our thoughts are with Chris's family and friends. Mark Wilson was one of over 500 people to be convicted with your help.
Crimewatch is back next month with new appeals. As always, 9 o'clock on BBC One. Till then, well, remember the crimes you've seen tonight stand out because they are exceptional. So, don't have nightmares. Do sleep well. Good night.
Good night.